Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to my home, welcome to the office, and welcome to the morning grind. My light that I ordinarily have right over here is not working, so if I'm lit differently or I look like I'm sitting in the dark, well, I don't know why that's not working today. Oh, well. Hope you are doing well. It has been a good morning. Let's see. Good morning. I believe we have a change in BGD's. It looks like I'm getting different names for everybody here. It's using the @ symbol now. Yeah, that's going on with everybody now. So anyway, good morning, BGD. And Robert is here. Good morning. Great to see you. I was thinking about you the other day. It's been a while. Let's see. Inner Light, welcome. Great to see you. Inner Light, we got some updates. Robert is still working on the AI RPG stuff. Robert says that Sid, music functional, and now overhead combat map syncs with 3D dungeon view. Now each room will be a navigable dungeon crawl. Cool. And we also have the website up. Let's see, for Savages and Sorcery. Inner Light says. I put the link in there. Let's take a look at that. I'm going to put that up here on the screen at the moment. Let's just see what's going on there. So here it is. Savages and Sorcery. People making stuff. In an age of bronze and blood, where gods whisper and sorcery burns, heroes rise from the dust of forgotten empires. Savages and Sorceries is a tabletop role-playing game of mythic adventure and brutal heroism. Seize your destiny and shape up the realm with might, magic, and fire. Oh, it is now available on drive-through. Oh, okay. So it's up. So it is up. Right there. Welcome to a realm of myth and fury, a world where mortal heroes clash with ancient powers and forgotten gods stir beneath the bronze horizons. Savage and Sorcerer. I didn't know he'd gotten that far. Good morning, Tomocrat. So yeah, this looks really cool. Cool site here. I didn't know that was far. We got the Hero's Handbook. Okay, Fate Master. So that's available now. PDF available now. Fate Master's Guide coming soon. Coming soon. Cards and the like. Was that the album? Okay, yeah, like a soundtrack. The Sound of Sorcery album brings the world of Bronze and Blood to life. Well, very cool. Now it's more than just what can be talked about in comments. People can actually check it out. Well, all right. Thank you for letting us know. Okay, very cool. Yeah, we might have to take a look at this. Yes. Okay, like we might have to take a look and see everything that you've done. This is pretty cool. All right. So let's go. I'll have to go back to here. Let's see. Not a whole lot has happened since Wednesday. I did ship some stuff out on Wednesday. So if you were looking for something from me from the website, I shipped a bunch of stuff on Wednesday. I also shipped out some sample Santa Claus letters to people who have been part of the Ravenkeep community, and especially those who had gotten like a children's book from me in the past. So I thought that, hey, if you've gotten a children's book, you might need you might like to have a Letters with Santa Claus experience. So that got shipped out. I don't think that I had the first of the coloring book pages last time I was live. So here we go. This is the first coloring page that comes with the first letter is Santa Claus right here in his like cabin part of his workshop, and writing the letters here. So that is the first one that goes out. So I have those. I have a bunch of those printed. Those are those are ready to go out. And then I was also getting getting some envelopes ready. So I do have like parchment style looking envelopes that I am decorating with Christmas stickers. And the thing that I don't have yet is that I've ordered a stamp for the Santa Claus return address up here at the for the North Pole return address, so that I can stamp those on there. But that has not arrived yet. If it doesn't arrive in time, I'm going to just put return address stickers on these Santa Claus return address stickers made with the the label maker. But hopefully I'll get the red ink stamp to go up there as the return address. We will see. So that is going on. Letters from Santa Claus. They are available on ravenkeep.net, but I'm turning it into, I'm now calling it, I believe it's like the December, it's a kit, a December holiday kit or something like that, because it comes with the book and then the magic corn I'm working on too. I was working on the magic corn, but I'm not ready to reveal that yet. So this has been a big kind of project, but a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to sending these things out this Christmas. In the meantime, though, so that's what's going on there. I'll let you know as more happens. But I will. But for now, I guess that is it. And of course, we are still waiting, and it will be a while before we get new the RPG proofs in. I got those. I took those and showed them to some people at the winery yesterday, actually, the books, and people were very impressed with them. So they do look good. Other people have seen them in person, and yeah, they thought one of them plays Dungeons and Dragons. So got her approval on the book. All right. Well, hey, let's breathe and sip, and then let's continue our kind of trying to solve a problem here. And design our game over here. Let's breathe and sip. Let's take 2 deep breaths. 2 deep breaths. Deep inhales, complete exhales, and then take a sip of our favorite beverage this morning. I have water. So, all right, here we go. Let's breathe. And sip. Okay. I'm going to bring up Gemini. I had a thought. See, right, what kind of layout is that? I had a thought soon after we had taken. Come on. I had a thought about this. Okay, there we go. Soon after we had stopped working on Wednesday. Let's see. So where am I with this? Let's get down to the bottom about critical hits and making hit points and making the fact that we have a wound stamina system still matter. So where did I start talking about that? I think it was the last thing that I mentioned to it after we had had gone offline. Okay, so here's what I thought about. Okay, so we had the problem that if we have both stamina and wounds, like we're in a stamina and wound system. Excuse me. All right, so if we were in that system, I wanted to be sure. Hey, Michael, that we didn't just make a more complicated hit point system, because if you always have to work through the stamina before you get to the wounds, yes, the wounds mean that you actually are taking damage, but there has to be some way in order to get directly to the wounds. And so we talked about that at the end yesterday, about like what circumstances would the damage that a character is taking go directly to wounds. And we made that situational, and it came up with some good ways to do that. But then, but an issue that we had is that if you are using a D20 roll to hit, the 20 roll ordinarily in like the D20 stamina vitality system, if you roll a critical hit, then the damage goes directly to wounds, which has the potential to end a fight kind of fast if you get critically hit. But if we're experimenting with this idea about not rolling for a rolling to hit instead of just rolling damage, well, how do you determine if something goes to wounds or not? And it doesn't really work if you just do this with the exploding dice, because how do you get a critical hit in this kind of system if you're just rolling damage? Well, an exploding die, if you roll the highest value, then the die explodes. But that doesn't really work either, because if you're exploding the damage, then the only time it would go to your wounds is if it were a maximum roll of some, and then an exploding roll. And that's arguably too lethal. Hey, Doc. So here's what I said. I had this thought about exploding dice damage based on what you were telling me about the thieves' sneak attack ability being potentially overpowered and needing adjustment. So with the thief's sneak attack in this kind of system, what it recommended was that the first damage roll, like if you're doubling damage because of a sneak attack, you're like doubling dice damage. The first die roll should go directly to the wounds, and then the next die roll should be taken off of stamina. So I thought, oh, okay. So based on that idea, I said, what if when you roll the highest value on your die in combat, the first roll goes to stamina, and then the second roll would go directly to wounds. And I like that, because otherwise there's we need something like this, because otherwise there's no way for the wounds to be directly attacked in combat without some kind of situational situation, like, being pushed into lava or drowning or something like that, or being unaware. We talked about that. But this makes the critical hit even more fun. Now, potentially more damaging. But that if you're rolling D8 damage, you roll an 8. Okay, that's max damage to stamina. And then you roll again because your die explodes, and that die comes off of wounds directly. So Gemini, we're still experimenting with Gemini here. Now, of course, Gemini says this is a game-changing idea in the best possible way. Oh, well, thank you, Gemini. Okay, thank you. Now, what are the chances here that yes, I've been having the best ideas for RPGs, yes, according to Gemini. It's not as bad as ChatGPT used to be, but okay. So by routing damage explosion dice directly to wounds, you instantly solve 3 design problems at once. It solves the slog. Players don't have to chew through 40 hit points of stamina to hurt a boss. Now, that does mean it's coming the other way too. And we haven't really talked about how we're going to be using stamina and wounds with bad guys yet. The NPCs. We have not talked about that. So my expectation would be that bosses would have both of them like heroes, the PCs, but that some of the smaller guys just are not going to have that. They're just going to have wounds, probably. We still have the dagger issue here. It makes daggers scary. A D4, but it's not really the daggers because we're doing class-based damage. So it's any type of D4 weapon. It says a D4 dagger explodes 25% of the time. It becomes the weapon of death by 1,000 cuts. I don't really know if that's a design problem that is solved here. But yes, but to me, this is something that just probably needs to be played, and we will just see. It simplifies critical hits. You don't need a natural 20 system. The dice tell the story. Okay, whatever. So it decided to call this breaching. Okay, so here we go. When a damaged die rolls its maximum value, for instance, a 4 on a D4, it causes a breach. The first die impact, apply armor points. Now we're going to work on armor in just a moment because we haven't told it our armor system yet. So it's still working off of damage reduction, but that's okay at the moment. So, but if you were doing damage reduction, then the first die would apply to, you take off damage reduction and then take that to stamina. The second die, the breach, re-roll the die. The damage ignores armor and goes directly to wounds. And then it recommends here, do not roll a third time, cap it at 1 breach per attack to prevent instant annihilation. And I guess that's just something that would have to be played with and see how it goes. But I do like that. If you're working in an armor point environment, a damage point environment, that does kind of sound like or feel like you've really hit something and punctured through armor. All right, I hit, I take off stamina, I puncture through the armor, and then I get a roll directly to the wounds. Probably exciting. Inner Light says, I haven't worked with ChatGPT with this in a while. The last time, which was months and months ago, we decided to try to experiment with AI for game design. It was with ChatGPT. But I have almost completely migrated over here to Gemini. I've been like culling the different kinds of tools that I have been experimenting with and subscribing to. And it just Gemini seems to be the one that's doing everything I need. So it says, okay, fascinating tactical difference between light and heavy weapons. Okay. Like the greatsword. Okay. Frequency low. So, but this is just the fighter. That's a higher level fighter. I don't actually use it for Gemini. I don't actually use Gemini a lot for generation of the image. I use it for image manipulation, really, and it's great at manipulating an image or adjusting an image. Hi, listen, who we got here? Cyber Sloth. Welcome. Good to see you. Good morning. I don't know that I've seen you in the comments before, so let's have a sip. Here is a sip to you. Welcome. Oh, hey, Sable. Welcome. Good to see you. We are working on a modification of the Old School Essentials game. Oh, and Better with Bacon is here, too. Man, we got quite the crowd this morning. So we're trying to modify Old School Essentials here with some ideas that we have been thinking about here on the Morning Grind for a long time. So the fighter's greatsword, now that wouldn't actually be the greatsword, but that's a D12, and we might move that to 2D6 as a high damage for a heavy weapon. So the fighter who is able to roll that would be rolling, if they're rolling a d12. If so, your batter, I actually kind of like the 2d6 better. But in this case, you're battering down their guard until you land one bone-shattering blow. Frequency low, 8.3% chance per hit. Severity, but that could be fatal because we're operating in an environment where we're trying to say that the average person can only sustain 1 to 6 wounds. And the fighter with this kind of, they can deal that kind of damage, can kill you in one hit if you don't have any stamina, or if you go through stamina, really. When the fighter finally explodes to die, the fight is usually over. A roll of 8+ wounds kills most humans instantly. But I think that the 2d6 would make the fighter better. Oh, it's Cyber Sloth says, I skulk every so often. I've heavily modified my OSE. I'm using 2d6 for my two-handed weapon damage. I think it's probably better. I think. This was the problem with the thief here. The surprise rule is that the first attack bypasses stamina, as discussed before. Since the attack already targets wounds, the explosion just adds more damage to that existing pool. Let's see. Simulation, the duel here. Okay. But now, optional safety value. Now, it says don't explode an explosion. That also might not matter too much, because you're not going to have too many wounds. Most characters aren't. Like, how many characters are going to have wound values greater than 7 or 8? Greater than 6. So, like, the fighter is going to have 8 plus a strength value. Most things you're fighting aren't going to have that. So does it matter whether, if you're only fighting something with 6 or 7 wounds, does it matter if your explosion explodes when you hit the wounds? Well, probably not, because you're probably killing that person anyway. Both of those. So why not let it explode? I suppose it would only matter if you're fighting some type of gigantic creature with some large number of wounds, like a dragon or something. And do you want to be able to take that down or not with a series of explosions? But it says, okay, optional safety value, the grazing rule. If you feel that breach die is too lethal for players, use this modifier. When a die explodes, a second roll goes to wounds, but is capped at 1d4 regardless of weapon size. So, yeah, so I guess you could do something like that, critical hit. Your bonus is that you automatically get a d6, or d4 to wounds. Yes, I guess so, if you feel it is too lethal. Because D4 is still pretty heavily wounding you. But I guess that's just a play it and see kind of a thing. Recommendation, don't use the safety valve yet. Play test the full breach. Full die value to wounds makes players respect every single kobold with a rusty knife. It forces them to use stamina mechanics like shattering shields. And I'm not sure if we're doing that or not, but I know a lot of people really like that, and it's put this in here at the moment, the shattering shield rules, in order to avoid fatal hits. And if the fighter in the example above had a shield, he would have screamed and shattered his shield to negate the goblin's crit, saving his life. Let's talk about armor here. All right, let's talk about armor, because I want to simplify that system. Ordinarily, I am a big fan of damage resistance with armor, rather than armor making you more difficult to hit. But I'm thinking about this in terms of what has to happen every time an attack is made. If damage has to be reduced from, if basically every time you attack, you have to roll damage and then subtract some damage resistance number from the roll, that's an extra step you're having to do every time in combat, which is a lot of extra steps. Over the course of a game or a campaign. This is coupled with the fact that ordinarily everybody that you are going to be fighting is wearing armor. That's kind of the default circumstance. So if by default everybody is expected to be wearing some type of armor, then I think we should just assume that armor is being worn. Let's say that by default everybody has, open quote, medium armor on, close quote. And we can define this as standard adventuring level armor, suitable for mobility and travel, but also substantial enough to be significant in a fight, period. That sounds like the kind of thing that an adventurer would wear, and probably what most of their opponents are wearing too. So what if we say, by default, everyone's wearing medium armor, and you don't subtract anything from attack rolls for someone wearing medium armor? Then you only adjust that in the circumstances where you're fighting someone who has light armor on, or no armor, or much heavier armor. Let's feed it that. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, we do. We do. I mean, this has been a long time since we've had a house like this. We do. We've got new people here, and we also have all of the classics. Use chain. You're talking about the game system? We did look at the game system. You're talking about the game system chainmail? It makes combats faster? You also have to get information from, I may have to get something else to drink here. Oh, that is a brilliant simplification. Okay, this is okay. So you're watching brilliance here, according to the AI. Okay. By treating standard armor as the 0 state, you remove the calculation from 80% of the rolls in the game. You only have to think about armor when fighting something exceptionally soft, a zombie in rags, or exceptionally hard, a black knight. So, okay, why don't we, this is saying, and I want to, let's not use soft, standard, and hard. At least we're standardizing the damage reduction here instead of saying, okay, now what exactly is it? Okay. Let's make the armor categories none, comma, light, comma, medium, comma, heavy, comma, and then extra heavy, period. The default state is medium. Then let's use advantage, disadvantage for changing up the damage, period. Let's see how that works mathematically, comma, instead of trying to do the subtraction. So you get advantage if you are attacking a lightly armored foe, and disadvantage on your attack roll if you are attacking a heavily armored foe. Then we need to come up with something to do for extra heavy and for none. Let's see what it says. And well, still have my dictation on. Well, I had some other kind of thought. I forget what that was. Oh, like unaware. And we have like unaware that's going directly to wounds. And that doesn't even matter if you're armored. I mean, doubling is the easy thing to do. Double advantage or double disadvantage. I mean, double when none. Oh, there's also equipped. Like I want to think about the even if you don't have any armor on, but you are aware of your opponent and you are armed, you're in a much better circumstance than if you are aware of your opponent, have no armor, and have no weapon. So, yeah, so it also recommends advantage first or second. I know it really is. Like we also have this is a fantastic solution to this issue. Yeah. Sloth says, I hacked chainmail and I wrapped up all the weapons into weapon types, then made the categories of light, medium, heavy, and magic, and gave each category a chance to hit each except magic. So, yeah, none, light, medium, heavy, extra heavy. Math effect on a D8. So it does tell us that over here. D8 extra heavy. Yeah, that's rough. Okay, average it says is 1.2. Assuming you're rolling a D8, heavy damage is 3.2. Extra heavy, I would think needs to be pretty rare. Medium is 4.5, which is our baseline. Now I was thinking about, do we need to adjust hit points? I hope we don't. I'm trying to not do things that do that much type of damage to the whole system if we're assuming medium armor. Light 5.8. None, you're getting to 7.8, which is pretty deadly. Yeah, I'm kind of I was interested in the D6 as well, but Sable's also asking about D10s. Let's run this chart again, giving us both the D6 roll and the D10 roll. And throw in the D4 roll while you're at it. Let's see what that changes. Well, okay, this might be adding that said, I saw it say that it was adding in the breach information. We can add in D12s too. Gave us a table. Well, I don't want to use just one damage type because that's based on the type of roll die you're using is based on your class. So here's what we're saying right here. None. 5. Okay, so it did take into account the breach. So if you're attacking with someone with no armor on with a D4, then you're rolling high. Yeah. You can get them for 5 points of damage on average. You're up to like 6.5 on a D6, and you're up to looks like just above 9 on a D10. And then we're going down to 1 on extra heavy, like 1 point, looks like 1.5 maybe, and 2. I wonder if we gave us actually the numbers here. Oh yeah, so we do have none fighting with the D10, 9.2, 6.5 none. You're still the thief. That's also, it says thief mace, but that's a cleric. I actually don't remember what we gave the thief. But yeah, nobody's doing very much damage once you get to extra heavy. But that's a pretty good progression, I think. No, there is no to hit. We're just rolling damage. We are eliminating to hit. That's correct. So that's the going assumption right here. We're eliminating to hit. So there we go. The percentage is the chance to trigger a breach explosion in any given hit. It says now it still wants to talk about this dagger, which is the D4 in general. Okay, the dagger. Look at the D4 versus light armor. The wizard averages 3.1 stamina damage, which is respectable. But look at the breach chance, 44%. Nearly half of every dagger thrust against a lightly armored target will find a gap and deal wound damage. This makes the unskilled dagger wielder terrifying to bandits and archers. But we're going to fix that in other ways. Plate mail, which we would never call it that. So look at the drop off for D6s. Medium armor, 3.5 damage, 17% breach. Heavy armor, 2.5 damage, 3% breach. That's why you wear heavy armor, right? The damage, so it's comparing that too. The damage only drops by 1 point, but the breach chance vanishes. You can hit a knight all day, stamina damage, but you almost never land a killing blow wounds until he is exhausted. This perfectly simulates fighting in a tin can. That is interesting. Medium armor, 3.5. So medium armor fighting with a D6, 3.5 damage, 17% chance of causing a breach. Once your opponent is wearing heavy armor, you're now doing an average of 2.5 damage. So it does drop a little bit. It drops a little bit, but you have a massive reduction in breach, it's saying. But that does simulate armor pretty well. The fighter's dominance, rolling the D10, even against extra heavy armor, the fighter averages 2.4 damage. The wizard 1.1, thief 1.4, barely scratching the paint, doing minimum of 1 damage. This ensures the fighter is the only one who can reliably hurt boss monsters through their armor. Okay, let's yeah, actually let's do that. Let's write up these rules, at least as we have been talking about them so far. So we have some type of write out of what we're doing. Sable says these are real low numbers. I mean, you'd be doing damage every time, but man, it's like 1 or 2 at a time. However, if an average target only has 1 or 2 hits, I don't think they're going to have very many hit points. Well, I mean, we'll have to see. We will have to see. Maybe that. So we didn't compare subtracting 2 from using advantage or disadvantage. If it's always 2 based on armor, then you don't have to ask the opponent. You just have to know whether or not they're wearing armor. Well, I don't need all of the. Yes, the combat is dangerous and frantic. I don't need that. If you're in range, you hit. So, I mean, I guess this is a good summary of what we're doing. If you are just coming in or didn't see last time and stuff like that. So the core loop, okay, declare attack, check armor state to see if you have advantage or disadvantage. Roll your class damage die, but that's not entirely your class damage die. It's class damage die modified by what type of weapon you're using. So that gives you a reason to use like a two-handed weapon. So the fighter will do more damage with a two-handed weapon. We called those light, medium, and heavy. Of course, that also the names of our armor. So one of those will have to change. But we had light, medium, and heavy weapons, and there was a class damage die for each one of those. Subtract damage from stamina. If stamina reaches 0, damage goes to wounds. Armor does not make you harder to hit. It makes you harder to hurt. We have advantage and disadvantage here. That's what we were just working on. The breach is exploding die. When a damage die rolls its maximum value, it triggers a breach. The second die goes directly to wounds. And this right now is saying die can only explode once per attack. At the moment, that was its recommendation. So exploding die, that's how you get your crit. Exploding die, top value on the die, apply that to stamina, roll again and apply that directly to wounds. We don't have, we have not talked about this, but it's putting in here, recovers with 10, stamina recovers with 10 minutes of rest, wounds recovers slowly 1 per day. We haven't written any of those kinds of rules yet, but okay, we'll take that at the moment. I have some different ideas there. Stamina reaches 0. In any case, apply damage to wounds. Whenever you take wound damage, make a save versus paralysis. We haven't. I think that's a pretty interesting thing to do. We'll just have to see how it works out. And I'm not sure if the incapacitated or whatever. I mean, that does hurt. Making the pain save. Save versus paralysis when wound damage is taken to see if you receive this incapacitated condition for 1d4 rounds. That seems harsh. That seems really harsh. But also you can bypass stamina if the target is surprised or flat-footed, helpless, grappled, is taking some kind of environmental damage. We still have to think about poison here because I think they can go either way. Different types of poisons. And then also interesting, magic missile, the spell unerringly strikes vital spots. And then it's also recommending the shield shatter rule so that you can negate all damage from a single attack if you destroy your shield. Yeah, so this is class-based damage progression based on light, medium, and heavy weapons. Oh, it did. We're talking about weapon reach and weapon weapon, not abilities or qualities, but like different things that they do. So what did it give me this? Oh, I do have changed tone over here. Casual, very casual, formal, very formal. Is it going to have me create this in a Google? Is that? Well, it's thinking about something. It might have put this in like an editable form or something. I don't know. This is the first time I've seen something like this in Gemini. But I want to. We can talk about these weapons next. I think that's a good thing to do. Well, come on. I don't know what. Oh, I was in a. What was that? I don't remember that picture. So, okay, so. Oh, it did. It gave me some type. It actually generated a document there or something right there. Okay, so good. So that's held someplace else. Let's see. Just as an additional note, like you were saying that magic missile might always hit wounds because it always hits. Some type of magical armor, like mage armor or something like that, might be something that can never be critically hit and breached because it's not a physical anything, but a magical energy field that's preventing damage. So just a note there. Well, I'll go through it, but I'm glad it saved it off kind of as a separate place where I can get to that because that's not completely right, but it's a good summary of where we were. Sable says that's a good idea. I'm liking a lot of the feeling of the mechanics here just by thinking of it. I was. Oh, so here is. Maybe this was it. I told it to like make it more formal or something like that. So maybe this is what it's doing right here. Yep. Typing this out. But Sable says that's a good idea. I'm liking a lot of the feeling of the mechanics here just by thinking of it. So Mike asked, like, why do this? Because I do have the die system for the universal action resolution system, but as soon as you do that, then you're kind of committed to creating a whole new RPG. And my goal here was to kind of implement a lot of the things I've been talking about in the morning grind into an existing system so I don't have to go through and make changes to everything. So that's why I'm like, I don't want to do too much violence to the system because I'd like to be able this to be kind of plug and play into something existing so that you can use things like existing monsters and things like that. And I'm also thinking about playing with my nephews. I wanted them to run through some of the advanced Dungeons and Dragons stuff. So I really don't want to, it would be nice if you had some modifications, things that we have been talking about here on the grind that can be integrated directly into something like AD&D. So if I'm looking at an AD&D module or something, I know exactly how to, with minimal effort, how to use these rules with the system. If you have a completely different kind of action resolution system and completely different statistics, like your core abilities, that's much more design intensive than if trying to, like, let's just pick some of the things we've been talking about and how do we integrate that. Okay, so we got a revised thing. It says I updated that document with 2 key clauses: arcane warding. Said some things like force fields prevent secondary breach roll. Okay. Let's talk about weapons then. Okay, let's stop working with that document for the moment and just continue our discussion period. So, since damage is based on class, even though we have the light, medium, and heavy weapon distinctions, but basically the damage is coming from the class rather than the type of weapon, we still need reasons for people to use different types of weapons. So, that also needs to be different than just cost, because I find that the cost of weapons is generally not a deterrent to using the one that you want in a role-playing game like this, because players have enough money to buy the weapon that they want when we're talking about non-magic weapons. So each weapon needs to have qualities that make them feel different as you're playing them at the table. Period. The first thing that weapons have is a reach, and we've talked about this before in brief, but I want to integrate the reach of the weapon into combat or into initiative, so that, yes, we've talked about how good the D4 can be in this system, but if you are a unarmored dagger wielding wizard, you probably don't want to charge the heavily armored axe wielding orc, because, well, for a lot of reasons, but because the orc will get to attack you first as you come in range. So weapon length needs to be important. I also want the weapon we're going to be using a slot-based inventory system. So instead of the weight of a weapon, we do need how many slots it takes up. So that's important. You're going to have a limited number of slots. And also, I want damage type. I think during the base game, you don't really have to worry too much about bludgeoning, piercing, or cutting weapons, but that certain creatures might be vulnerable to certain different types of damage or resistant to it. Period. Let's start with that, trying to brainstorm the classic list of fantasy role-playing game weapons and what their statistics would be. Let's just give it that. Make sure you add so. Oh yeah, okay. That's excellent. Okay, Inner Light says, yeah, because I think so too. The defensive value of weapons also needs to be there. Make sure you have some weapons defensive, adding +1 to AC if the user defends. We don't have AC directly, but I do want to talk about that. So yes, let's give it to chew on that in a moment. Recommending reach categories: close, standard, and long. That's probably a good way to do it. We group this most of the time by 3. So reach versus speed. That's getting very granular. But if you've got a close weapon and somebody else has the long weapon, even if it's your turn, and you attack them, they get an attack against you first as you're coming in, assuming they are aware. Damage type, inventory slots. So this is talking about, okay, dagger. So advantage on damage if inside the gap or grappled can be drawn as a free action. Cudgel, club. Is this a whole sheet thing? Oh, that was what? Light weapons. Okay. Medium. So it is giving a something else on each one. So like arming sword can deal 0 damage to gain +2 armor state. Well, that's a defensive thing. I mean, I don't know about these, but like, so it is recommending something special quality tag, Sunder, Battle Axe, natural 19 to 20 destroys the target shield. And that's not right because we're not rolling 19 and 20, but destroys the target shield immediately if no shield, reduce armor state. Okay, so this is going in kind of the right direction. Yeah, ranged, like, so this reach. Okay, so reach, but then ranged weapons as well. Natural tactical loop without changing the math of your damage die. Shield block, standard attacks, flails, ignore shields, plate armor, stop swords, maces. Well, this maces ignore plate armor. That would be huge. Chargers rush the wizards. Spears kill chargers. Hordes swarm the party. Great swords sweep the horde. Giants have massive HP. Daggers bleed them out. Okay, this is a reasonable start. We'll look at each individual weapon quality in detail later. But we do also want to be sure that weapons do have defensive capabilities, or at least some of them do. Because even if you are unarmored, you are in a better situation if you are also armed than if you are unarmed. Even when you're aware of your opponent. So a weapon has a natural defensive element as well. Period. What other kinds of attributes do we need these weapons to have? See, Sable says, see, here's the thing. Reach is king on an open field. There's a reason the simple spear was killing thousands on the battlefield. Spell was king on the battlefield for thousands of years. In many cases, you always want reach unless you're in an environment where you can't, like indoors or, in a dungeon, right? Yeah, so we need to bring that up. Okay, this may engagement range bands, the engagement geometry. Okay, well, I'll look through all of that. We might need just to get a summary of what it's trying to say here, but all right, I've at least put that idea in there. Does guard rating? This looks like too much. +2 to this because that's also trying to come up into what kind of guard is my opponent in? That might not matter. Or that might be too much because we don't want to have to ask that. Let's just hold that idea for a moment in the back of our minds while we also think about the room necessary to wield the weapon, period. The spears will be great on an open battlefield, but there's a reason why that and a halberd might not go into a dungeon. I just did not understand what I was trying to say there. To wield the weapon. You need room to work. I know ignoring the armor is too much. That almost got too gamey right there. Also, Mace's Warhammer shouldn't ignore armor, but have a higher guaranteed base damage and crit rating versus it somehow, without too much fiddliness. But yeah, like looking through that, like that, those kind of things need to be pulled, because like saying, oh, the mace ignores that. That doesn't work. Weapon attribute clearance. Every weapon has a clearance rating that dictates how much physical space is required to wield it effectively. 0 clearance, thrust and compact, motion, linear stabbing, dagger, short sword, spear, or staff when in thrusting mode. Can be used while squeezed, grappled, or fighting shoulder to shoulder in a shield wall. These were the kings of the 5-foot corridor and the tunnel. Standard clearance, arc, chop, one-handed swings or overhead chops, mace, battle axe, arming sword, morning star. 5-foot square. Requirement, a standard 5-foot square. Restriction, if you are squeezed, fighting in a 2.5 tunnel, or squeezed between 2 walls, you suffer disadvantage on damage. Wide clearance for sweeps and leverage. Like this is probably... I mean, this is probably an acceptable level of detail here, such as greatsword, halberd, great axe, flail. Requires 5-foot square plus empty space on at least one side, or a 10-foot wide corridor. The clang penalty, if used in a confined 5-foot corridor or crowded melee. Loss of reach. You can't claim the long initiative bonus. Oh, that's interesting. So that might stop you from claiming that if you're too packed in. Ineffective. You cannot roll your class die. You deal 1d4 bludgeoning damage as an improvised club because you're forced to half hand or pommel strike the enemy. We'll see about that. But allowing the enemy to close there might be. A spear is unique. The system forces you to ask players how wide is the hallway before drawing steel. The spear is unique. It's a long weapon reach that has 0 clearance for a thrust. Result, this is why spears were dominant weapons of history and dungeon, it says, and dungeon delving. You can stand in the second rank of a 5-foot hallway and safely stab over the fighter's shoulder without hitting the walls. Updated weapon list, including clearance. So Inner Light says, also using a sword properly required a bit of strength, while spears could be used by the common levy infantry. Revised, and this is putting in the defense guard. We didn't really read what it was saying about that, but we're adding clearance in here. Potentially this works. We're going to have to go over it in much more detail. I'm still not sure about the guard that you put in there, but this works for now as a base to continue with. What else? Let's see. What other major category of thing? Well, let's see. How long have we been going? We've been going for about an hour here. Okay, so we might be stopping here in just a moment. But again, that's a lot of work that we did today. That's quite a bit of work. And I really it's nice that it's able to create some kind of summary sheet like that, because that's basically the rules and need to look at those. Having the conversation, but then having it also put it into a document for you is nice. But, I think with skills and training, I think a lot of that is being taken up with the class, because the class damage die adjusts by weapon type, medium, light, heavy, medium, or light, by class and by level. So that's how we handle the training right here. The better trained you are, the higher level your character is. That's basically training. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, the inventory system is a big one, but let's not do inventory today. Why don't we talk about inventory next time? Because it's going into the slot-based system. So yeah, I would say that's the next thing to talk about, but let's not do that today. Today was about kind of the damage and stuff like that. So maybe inventory and items next morning grind. All right. Well, I've got to get out of here. I've got things to do today. There are several things that are happening today that I have got to get ready for. So I hope that everyone had a great time, enjoyed the discussion. I did. Thank you very much for being here. I will see you Wednesday for another live stream Wednesday morning. Everybody have a great day. Go forth, be creative, and be constructive. Later, everybody.